Welcome, everybody. This is episode 6 of the Apps and Asphalt podcast. We have with us the one and only Marvin Joles, as he brushed his shoulder off. If you guys haven't heard of Marvin, and I mean, he's a huge prominent name in the asphalt industry, been doing his thing for quite a while. The past, I would say 2 years, his brand, Blacktop Banter, brand and podcast has blown up. And he's got a lot of exciting things coming. So Marvin, we're obviously great friends, but we're just so glad and appreciative that you came on, took time out of your day to hop on this, man. So welcome, brother.
Yeah, dude. I would take time out of any day, and I'd take a lot of time out of my nights to hang out with you guys too. So don't forget about that stuff. But yeah, man, absolutely right. We've been, Zach and I have been friends for a couple of years now. Hayden and I, you and I have been friends for over a year and stuff now. And we both have watched what we do in our endeavors take off. And for me, that's my biggest excitement, right? Because for a long time, like I've been in this industry doing content creation and stuff for 6 years or so now. Once I started with my asphalt businesses, and I was alone, dude, for a long time. And people looked at me like I was an alien, dude, with green skin when I was trying to do this stuff. Because they're like, what is this kid doing? And meanwhile, I was speaking, right? Yeah, absolutely. And I was speaking at these events and telling people like, you need to be in front of the camera. You're going to have to put this out with your brand. Like, you need to let people know. Because if not, guys like me are going to come up and pass you. And I remember 2 people out of that first whole class that I taught at MPE came up and asked me questions. Those 2 businesses have went to the moon, right? Everybody else was like, no, dude, this isn't how you do it. You don't show people what you do and then show them what jobs you're on. People are going to come in and take those jobs from you. I'm like, oh, okay. Like that's going to be your mindset, right? Dude, it's completely flipped since then. And I get the pleasure of having people like you all and everybody else. Now that I was in the industry so long doing this by myself, I get to see it work, right? And then I see you guys doing such an excellent job and spot on site growing and expanding and everything. And every time I see my friends succeed, dude, I get hyped. I get so hyped because I know it's working. I know even better times are coming for all of us. I love it.
Dude, that's awesome.
Man. Yeah, it's been crazy. We were in it was a Discord actually, is like where I first started like popping into Blacktop Banter at times, and I'm like, what is this? This is so
Clubhouse.
Clubhouse. Okay,
Clubhouse.
Yep, Clubhouse. And I was like, man, this is so cool. Like everyone's just like gets together and like bullshits here on like a Thursday evening, and like I'd get a little glass of whiskey and like listen in. It's so cool, man. I can't believe how far you've come and like the partnerships that you've built and are building with big names. It's insane.
It is.
It's crazy, bro. Especially like, you always see something in its infancy, right? Like, we've seen our friends like start stuff, or you see these small brands kind of start, or these, let's say like a software company, right? Or Blacktop Banner. You're like, yeah, Marvin's talking with his friends. That's cool. Yeah. Now look, right? Like it went from there to here. So you get to see it. And for me, that's the greatest pleasure of it all, because I'm a creator. I didn't realize like this is what I was good at. I knew I could seal coat driveways like probably the best in the country. And I knew we could, and once in a while, like, I knew I could do good work and I would put it up against everyone's work, but it wasn't unique. Right. But once I had a knack for figuring out what attracted people to content, then all of a sudden I was like, I'm kind of good at this. Like marketing wise, like I'm kind of good at this. So then like I was, people would ask me like, hey, how do I do that? And privately, we started doing these, and I watched these guys succeed. And I'm like, shit, this is like a whole nother business, right? So then we do a thing with the podcast, right? And get a lot of, dude, we got NFL athletes on there now, NASCAR champions. Like we got ballers out there, dude. And I'm like, dude, this is crazy. Like, this is my life. And Will James was on, we got done with the last one. He was a cornerback from the NFL. He's like, Marvin, you're a baller, bro. I'm like, oh yeah. Oh yeah, I guess I am a little bit. Yeah. So I get to see my buddies, dude, take off and succeed. And that's the best part, To me, that's the best part.
It is.
That's awesome. Well, and so this all came as a product of your own company, Wiscoat, Is it It's Wisco Asphalt, right? Or Wisco?
Yeah.
Okay. So Wisco out in Wisconsin. Tell us how in the hell you got even started in the paving industry. Like, where did that come up? When did you decide to take the leap and start your company?
Yeah. So I grew up pretty humble. At 2 weeks old, my mom and dad gave me up. So my dad was 17. My mom was, I think, just turned 18. They were just kids, dude. And they knew they couldn't take care of a kid, right? As a kid. My father's father had passed away. My mother, she came from a family like that kind of too. So it was rough. And about 2 weeks after I was born, my grandmother took me in, but it really wasn't that great of an environment. A check came with this kid. So I was already producing checks right out the womb, boys. So, somebody wants to get on that level, go right ahead. And that was advantageous to her because she grew up, or she was poor, right? And I grew up, we did food stamps, welfare, all that stuff. When I was 12 years old, 2 doors down, my cousin's father owned a roofing company, and they were tearing shingles off of a roof. He stopped along the way and he's like, "Hey, you want to pick up shingles today?" I'm like, "I don't know what that is, but you're paying money." He's like, "Yeah, I'll pay you." I was like, "Okay." So I didn't ask how much. I just went with him. And after that first day, I got a $20 bill, and it was the most money I'd ever seen in my entire life, dude. I asked him, I'm like, "Can I come back tomorrow?" Yeah. I'm like, "Can I come back tomorrow?" He's like, "Yeah, I guess." So that's how it started, dude. So I started when I was 12 years old, picking up shingles. And then after like a month or so, I randomly got the idea to ask my cousin like what he was getting paid, and it was like $50. And I was like, "Dude, I'm outworking you 2 times. Like, I'm gonna have to renegotiate my contract here." So went up and asked that, and got it, and that's what I did. And they did seal coating and stuff, but they didn't do it at such a large scale because it had such a bad reputation where we lived and where I grew up. So all throughout high school, I did that, and I was kind of like by osmosis learning small business and service, right? And I didn't really know in school what I wanted to do, and I worked a job and hated it, and was like, I'm going back to roofing because I can do whatever the F I want, and still kind of have that freedom. So I knew that's what I wanted to do. During partway through high school, when I wasn't roofing, one of my other cousins, he owned a paving business, and I would help them out whenever I could. And I'd run a lead boy. I learned how to run a Gale, the T-handled, really shitty Bobcats that just made you do this when you backed up. And you try grading out. I ran those, and ran the roller. I learned everything about it, and seal coating and everything else, but still mainly did roofing and seamless gutters. Graduated halfway through school, moved out east, and worked with one of my uncles out there. He was a handyman, and we did a little bit of seal coating and stuff. But when I came back, I was like, all right, what am I going to do? Right. And I went with my uncle who owned the paving business, paved for a while, and was like, all right, I think this is probably what I want to do. And moved back up here, started seal coating a little bit, but I really didn't know much about business as I thought I did. I knew how to do the work, get paid for the work, and put the check in the bank. I really didn't even know how to get the work really well. Right. So I just started doing my thing, learning a little bit. I didn't succeed at seal coating right away because, as I said, I didn't know how to draw the work up. And I supplemented that by roofing still a little bit back and forth. And then when I went back to roofing, I really started to dig in and ask questions about, hey, how do you even get these jobs? And then how do you know how much it costs, right, to do it? How do you know if it's worth whatever you're going to price it out as? And then how do you price it well? Once I started to become a student of that, then I started applying that to Wiscoat, and before long, I didn't need to roof. My mentor there, Jack, like after a while, he's like, "Kid, just go do your thing. Like you're gonna pass me like fast. Like just go do your thing." So that's what I did. I did that. I did it fairly well, enough to pay bills and everything. And then I wanted more. And the only way that I could figure out how to get more work, because newspaper wasn't working, phone book wasn't working, radio ads wasn't working. Like no, it wasn't working.
What years was this?
This was probably 2010, right?
Okay.
2011. Yep. So I started studying Gary Vee a lot, like a lot. And I was in a mastermind group with the lawn care and landscape industry in 2012, 2003, 2004. And I kind of mimicked what they were doing in that industry with my business. And before long, it was going well, right? But what happened was it went well enough that I subconsciously had a goal of get a house, be able to pay your bills, sleep easy at night, provide for your family. You're good to go. I paid for my house by the time I was 25, paid for all the vehicles by the time I was 25, did all that. And I remember starting out the spring, right? Everyone's like, let's go. It's spring. We're going to get it.
Yeah.
About a month after things had been going. And I was like, well, I already had enough money that I probably could have made it a whole nother year without working. Right. So then I was like, started to get this feeling of if all I do is, right, I was 25, 26, 27. I'm like, if all I do is go out, make Blacktop black, come back, go to sleep, wake up, make Blacktop black, come back, go to sleep. Like for the rest of probably, I mean, depending on where I party at and how much, it could have been 30 years longer. But if I take it easy, maybe 40, 50 years longer. If I do that the rest of my life, man, I'm going to be miserable. Like that's a miserable existence for me personally. Now, for some people, that might be all they want for their whole life and it might bring them great joy. But for me, it didn't. I always felt like I could do more. I was gifted with a great intelligence that was meant for more than that. Right. And I have a passion, right? I have a great passion for creating and seeing things evolve that creates an experience, right? When we hang out, dude, I'm having an experience. You guys see that? Like, I don't even need to be on anything. I'm having a great time because I'm having a great time with my friends. It's euphoric. So I knew that I needed to do something, right? To be creative, to create that great experience in life and create that journey. So that's why I started Wiscoat Wednesday, which was a small thing here at Wiscoat where I would find people, which is hard where we live. We're in the second largest population in this county. And there's 700 people. So that tells you how spare it is here. Right.
Yeah.
So then to find willing people that would be on camera with me and talk about what they were doing was even harder. So I got to like 30 episodes of Wiscoat Wednesday with these people. And then I ran out of people. Right. It was really great for Wiscoat, brought a lot of attention. We didn't have to advertise anymore at that point, and we haven't now for 6-7 years. The phone just rings. Thank God. Because I wouldn't be able to do this if it didn't. And I was like, all right. So I started the Facebook group, got rid of the Facebook group, ended up selling it, and then figured out like I was writing articles at that point for Pavement Magazine. I was speaking a little bit here at the expos about what we do with content and branding, which really still hadn't taken off a whole lot. I would say I was probably 4 years ahead of our industry catching on that that's what we needed to do. So I was out there preaching it early on, right? But I would have people that would come up to me at the shows and be like, dude, you saved my business. Like I started doing these targeted Facebook ads with the content that you suggested and you saved my business. Or you allowed me to start a business doing what I love. And I was like, shit, there is something here. Like, I know there's something here. So I just kept pounding it. And it wasn't until I actually sent something to somebody last night in 2018, I posted one episode of the Pavement podcast in April 2018 after I left Cleveland at MPE and was like, dude, I'm going to start a podcast. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to start a podcast and I'm going to make it like Wisco Wednesday. I did it one time. Now, you got to remember, I've been on video, made tons of content, all this shit, right? I heard my voice for the first time and I was like, oh my God. Now, no, not doing it. Yeah, not doing it, bro. People are gonna be. I'm embarrassed. People are gonna make fun of me. I'm not doing this shit. And about a year went by, and the idea was just so good, right? And I was like, okay, man, I'm gonna invest in some shit. I sold the Facebook group, used that money to invest in great software. I invested in myself too, quite a bit, right? As far as speaking and be able to do things fluidly and that kind of stuff. Because I had to become somebody that I wasn't in order to make this really click, right? But it was somebody that was there. It was just somebody that nobody had tapped into yet to unleash it. And then once Blacktop Banter started, dude, the rest has been history. It's been a climb.
That's
Holy
incredible.
Smokes, man.
Long story short, right?
It's crazy to me that you could build a Facebook like page or group and sell it.
Yeah, I know you could sell.
I mean, but it makes sense. Like the Facebook groups, even now, like they're so big. There's so many people in them. Right. It's wild. Yeah. Like,
Yeah, I mean, for us, when I first started it, I went to 2018 NPE, I think. Yeah. Um, it was 400 people. And then when we went to 2019 NPE, which was just pre-COVID, like it was like a week or two before COVID hit in Nashville, it had already been up to like 2,800 contractors, right? So, I mean, these are people that are seal coating contractors. So when you have that type of list, it brings a lot of value, especially if you're just going to make a post and you automatically get in front of all their faces. Because before you would get an email list and you'd have to do an email blast, or you get a phone list and you'd have to go call every single person on the list all the way down. The company that bought the Facebook group, they're able just to post. It's a supply company within the industry. They're able just to post, hey, we got this for sale, and it goes to all those contractors. So there was value attached there to it right now.
Yep.
You know?
That's
so
awesome,
cool, man.
Your story back in high school was a lot like yours, like Zach's. You know, where you were striping parking lots for your
Striping parking
parents.
lots. Yep. And you know, at that age, you want someone who's going to take a little bit of a risk with you, on you. You know, like, hey, I want to make a little bit of money here. How do I do this? If you're willing to put the work in, you know, everything else kind of follows along the way. But it's like you said too, that there was more to your story than just seal coating parking lots. And you know, like, this is a vessel, like NPP is a vessel for a greater means, but it feeds so many people along the way. Like, I don't want to like ever shelf that, but it gives you an opportunity to create at like a larger capacity, you know?
Yeah, it gives you a foundation, right? I
Yeah.
mean, that's your foundation, dude. And what really came to my attention and what I get excited about is when I realized that this version of me had been nestled inside of the version of me from 12 years old to 25 years old. Like, I was a product of my environment, right? So this version was just like put into a corner, because you don't do this type of crap, right? You didn't do this. You didn't put yourself out there. You didn't speak. You didn't take risks. You didn't do any of this stuff. And then when all of a sudden I realized that turned on, like, it scared me quite a bit at first, right? Because I'm like, I remember I attend church one town over, and I went to my pastor and I'm like, I had a crazy vision, and this is what it's like. It's like somebody led me to a vault and we're like, this vault is you. And they opened up the door a little bit and let me look in, and it was filled with like all kinds of treasures, right? And all these treasures were like my possibilities, my friends, my connections, my creativeness, right? Like all in my future, like all these things. And I was like, shut that door right away. Like, I'm not even about to tap into that, right? And because it just was like, it was super intense, super scary. What really helped spur me along was the fact that I knew that if I was this way, the chances of other people being that way were very high. And if they didn't know how to let that part of them out, they were going to live that sad life that I didn't want to live, right? And I see that a lot. I mean, we see that a lot, guys, like guys in our industry that are 60 years old and have hated it, right? They've hated the journey the whole way, and they've been miserable the whole way. Like, why put yourself through that, right? Because the only thing they've known and what society has taught them is chase dollars, right? Well, once I don't know about you guys, but once we still chase dollars. Don't get me wrong. Like, that's what our business protocol is, but that's not our number one priority. Our number one priority here is to provide something that makes people's lives easier while solving a problem that they have. Same thing with Spot on Site, right? So that, to me, that's the key. The money aspect of it comes no matter what, if you're doing that number one thing, right? If you have a problem, you're making somebody's life easier by solving that problem if they have it. That's what we do here at Blacktop Banter now, because it's, you know, when somebody tells you to do branding and content creation, dude, the pressure people feel are like, oh my God, right? Like, how am I going to do this, dude? We've been paving for 30 years and all I did was put my number in the phone book or whatever. And they're just like, to hear the news that you're going to have to do this in order to build a business that you're going to be able to hand to your children is just like, and for me, it was like, no, dude, it's easy. Like, I'll show you how to do it. It's super easy. So that's where we started doing that recently with Blacktop Banter to turn it into what it is. I mean, I'm not here to plug like what we do, but dude, when you seal coat a driveway, you're solving a problem, right?
Yep.
Back, if you pave a parking lot, you're solving a problem. Like, you're already a problem solver. You might as well go ahead and solve some more problems, especially if you're good at it and you enjoy doing it. Like,
Yep.
I don't get this excited about seal coating a parking lot anymore, right? But I get super excited when somebody's like, dude, help me. Like, I'm in.
The purpose.
This piece of it is huge. Yeah.
That's a big reason why we started this podcast was for that is we see a lot of the small to mid-range contractors who want to continue to level up. But the problem is they've been doing things the same way for so long. Your mental conditioning has you trapped, and then it's another year. It's either going to be a good season or a bad season. You never know. That's where you get bogged down by all the news and all the BS out there about the economy about to go out. We're not even worried about that, man. We know one way or another. Yeah, I don't even think about it. We don't even watch the news. Like, we know what's about to come, man. So we know we can trust in ourselves and our business because of the way we think about it and operate, that we're going to continue to level up no matter what whatever curveball gets thrown at us.
Yeah, well, I was just speaking with a friend of mine recently, and so when we were talking about you guys starting this podcast, right? And I think the name's perfect, Apps and Asphalt, right? At MPE, there's a guy that teaches a class about using iPads in the field, right? And he's an older gentleman, right? And for me to see that class come in a couple of years ago at National Pavement Expo was a really relieving moment, because all of a sudden it was like, even these guys up here that have been around for a long time are starting to realize we have to do something with technology going forward, right? And before it was like, oh yeah, we got a Measure Map Pro, or we got whatever these things, we got what was the other one, like Google Earth, right? We got all these types of measuring tools and whatnot, but they weren't as we wanted them to be directed towards our industry, right? So for me to see what your guys is software, and to see one of the guys that have been in the industry a long time using technology that can use that software is one of these things where it's like, all right, now we're here. And then I see people hitting us up, right, for content creation, and I see them trying to dabble in creating content and putting their self in front of their images, versus just post a picture and call us, right? It's like, dude, you're going to get eaten alive. Like, you can't do that, right? So for me, for you guys to be starting a podcast about this is fantastic, because it really caters to the coming of age, right? And you have guys our age in our space doing what we do, who not only are adapting technology, but we're also big players in the asphalt industry, right? We run asphalt companies, and we run them with these technologies. We run them with this content creation and branding plan and marketing plans. It's like, and we're doing really well, right? Compared to anybody who would try to start a business now using the mindset and framework from a business in 1995, they're not going to be here very long, bro.
Yeah,
Totally.
It'll weed them out quick, man. Yeah, Tom S. So they invited us to actually and bring in Spot on Site, part of his presentation. So we're looking forward to that and seeing what comes out of that. And yes, sir. But
that gets me so pumped. Dude, collaboration get me so pumped, because when I first started, I was in the industry of we don't talk to anybody else about anything we do.
And
you can go in on that a little bit.
please.
It's hard, bro. And it's hard. And I see collaboration. I'm like, yes. Like, dude, it's so much better for everybody.
So much.
There is so much freaking work out there.
Yeah. It's like, my day is already chock full. You really think I'm worried at all that we're going to lose a job here or there?
Right.
Like, my guys would love a break.
Yeah. That's one thing too we talked about on our last podcast is we did about social media, and we kind of went in a little bit on some people that we thought would be kind of no-brainers to be using the app, where they told us they want to use it because we're competition, or
because NPP has. I'm like,
the name is National Pavement Partners, so especially these bigger contractors. And
yeah. No, I mean, that's the same thing. Like, to touch back a little bit on what Zach was talking about, Spot on Sight, I don't think would exist if MPP didn't exist, right? And same thing with Blacktop Banter. It wouldn't exist if Wisco didn't exist. What gets me hype, right? And what now, thankfully, I've been in it long enough that I can kind of see what's coming, and I'm not just doing this and going forward blind in the industry anymore, is the fact that recently, when I go to the vision board, right, and I'm writing stuff up, I'm like, man, what's in my brain? I meditate a lot too, guys. Like I'll meditate every day, sometimes twice a day. And most of the time, like you can catch me like when we were in Miami, Zach, Brian caught me on the beach in the morning with the sunrise. Like, dude, where are you? We're having breakfast. I'm like, dude, I'm full already. I sent him a picture of the sunrise, right? And he was like, oh, damn, I know where you're at. Right. Okay. But now when I do that, I can kind of see the legwork and the foundations. And I was listening to something today, which is kind of ironic that you were talking about that, Zach. I was listening to Arnold Schwarzenegger motivational video this morning, right, when I was getting ready. And he was talking about how he became Mr. Olympia in order to have the foundation to become the movie star, right? And then to become the movie star and have all that fame in California was the foundation for him to become governor, right? So for me now with that mindset, I look at Blacktop Banter and I'm like, dude, if this is growing to this size and it's only a foundation for something else, like we're gonna have a lot more than one bottle of Dom and one bottle of Cristal at the end.
Yes.
Yes. Like there's going to be quite a team and we're going to have a damn good time. Same thing when I look at Spot on Sight and I see you guys doing your thing and it's growing and expanding. And then I get hype, right? It's going to be part of the presentation with Tom. I'm like, dude, where is this going to go from here? Because I know in our group setting, like we're not just going to be like, okay, we made it.
No, I mean, what it's doing is it's chalking up like the people who are taking their time to dabble in things here and there. By the time they actually get on board, like there's going to be groups of people, and it's not just us, it's not just you. You can call them out. You can almost see them within our industry, within construction as a whole. They're going to be a generation ahead, you know. And then it's like by that point, your kids, my kids, like this is an industry that is like a family industry at this point. Like it's almost like I'm not going to force it down my kid's throat, but they'll see as they get older, like we have all this opportunity right here. Like why would we go to school and do something different? They're going to walk into something different. They'll have the ability to be creative because we've set the platform for them at such an early age, and then we change in generations, you know, like decades.
Yeah, it becomes their atmosphere, bro. Like it becomes their atmosphere. Like Eli and Liz, both my kids, like they have no fear, bro. Like Liz makes TikToks about the craziest, funniest shit you've ever heard, and like she would look like a fool, and she'll look back and be like, "It's funny though, right?" I'm like, "It's hilarious." Like, it's hilarious. Like, I wish I would have been that brave at 24. Like, I wish I would have been that brave at 22. I was so worried about what people thought that it shortened years of my career, right? But here's the flip side. If I would have just been wide open, I wouldn't look back with a difference and be like, okay, I was that and now I'm this, and I really appreciate this like a lot more. Same thing with Eli. You know, when he looks at Wisco, he's like, oh, we're gonna pave. He's like, and we're gonna pave a lot. He's like, I'm gonna have 4 or 5 pavers out here. We're gonna be going here, and there. And I'm like, dude, I have no ambition for that. Congratulations. Here's the foundation. You do whatever you want to after this. And he will walk up to complete strangers and say anything at any time, at any moment, no matter what. Like, you know, so he shot a deer here in Wisconsin a couple weeks ago. And it was a nubbin buck. So its horns wasn't out of its head yet, but they were there. Like you could see them and feel them. And he's like, whoa, I shot a buck. Like, yeah, like, that's pretty cool. And we get going and we go to here. When you shoot a deer, you usually celebrate, especially if it's a kid's first deer, you celebrate that night. So we went to an event and they knew it was Eli's first deer and everything. Everybody had seen it. We get going there and he's like, what if somebody asked me how big my buck was? I'm like, well, we just, you know, we said, tell them that your was longer than its. And like, that's all they need to know. He's like, oh, and we were completely joking, right? He walks up the very first one. They're like, hey, how big was your deer? And he said, well, my was longer than its. And that was like, it was a full grown man, right? He's 11 years old, bro. And then they were like, okay. He looks over at me and he's like, That's a Lone Rock thing. It's got to be a Lone Rock, Wisconsin thing, right? And I'm like, yeah, it totally is. Like, we coached him here on the way up, and we didn't know if he was going to say it, but he knew what he was doing when he said it. That's the beauty of it. He loves getting people to laugh, right, and get a rile and like see how they interact and things. So for me, I have a lot of hope in that because he's seen that be a normal thing from me. But I was an introvert until I was forced to put myself on camera. The very first videos I put out gave me the most anxiety of anything I've ever had in my life. I posted the videos, and for 2 weeks, I didn't come out of the house. I didn't come out. I stayed in my house for 2 weeks after I posted videos. And then after 2 weeks, I took all the videos down. They don't exist anymore. I took them all down. I wish I wouldn't have, but I was so fucking nervous and had so much anxiety that I was like, I can't do it. And I remember my friend coming up and being like, you have to get out of the house. Like, you kind of inspire us. Like, we need you to come out because we have nothing to talk about and nothing to look forward to. Like, get out the house.
Like that,
So crazy.
that brother on bench warmers. He's all pale. He
Looking out the window.
comes out the lightsaber.
I literally went into the office. We had a little office here, and I was like, every time I seen somebody walk by, I'm like, they probably seen the videos. They're probably thinking I'm stupid. Like, they're thinking I'm dumb and weird and strange. And I was like, I have a great business. Why would I do this to my business? Like, this is a livelihood of my family. Why would I do this? But then, like, I knew from the confidence of Gary Vee and from the green industry that I had to do it. So I was like, okay, that's when I erased all the videos, and I was like, I'm going to do Wisco Wednesday. And I immediately had thought about it. And this brings up a lot about like the power of manifestation and opening your mind and changing your atmosphere and all these things. I said, I'm going to do it. The very next minute, somebody walked by. They knocked on the door of the office. I opened it up, and he says, hi, my name is Jeff Wright. I'm running for state senate in your area. And he kind of looked in. He's seen a ring light and the camera. He's like, what are you doing in here? I'm like, oh, I do a weekly program called Wisco Wednesday. I'm like, and we highlight certain individuals, and that's what we do. He's like, oh, maybe I could be on. I'm like, yeah, you want to be on right now? He's like, yeah. I'm like, okay. So literally, he had no clue. It was the very first Wisco Wednesday, first video that I had ever done with somebody else. We did it right there in the office. It's still up. You can still find it on the Wisco YouTube page. We get done, and he's like, so who all have you had on here? I'm like, you're the first one. He's like, oh, fast forward, end of the election, I'm at his campaign rally right at the end as the results are coming in and that type of stuff. Wisco Wednesday. That was the first time that I realized opportunity would be created by getting outside of your comfort zone, right? Because I never would have been around the people that I was at that rally, and that rally created more work for Wisco anyways. 2 or 3 people found out who I was. They wanted to work. I was like, okay, there's something to this, right? So yeah, go look that video up and see how fluent I am and just how comfortable I am in front of the camera.
I was joking because I'm like, oh, I don't know what that's like, dude. I still am like terrified of being on camera. Hate it.
Oh.
I hate it. Like, it is so bad, but Hayden makes me. What else? I'm like, fine,
Dude,
all right.
Dude, it's something when you make a decision to change your mind, right?
Mm-hmm.
People are like, oh, and this is what I when I speak on this quite a bit, because I can speak about content and branding and all that stuff, and a lot of that's out there, but there's a hurdle you got to get over with it, and that hurdle really is changing your mind and believing who you are, right? And for me, I had believed who I was who I was, but I wasn't. It was a product of my climate, my school, society, all that stuff. That's not who I was. This, who you see when you guys see me hang out and get hyped, that's who I am. Like, that's me. This is me. The excitement I get and the passion I have for this, that's me. And for me, the only way I was going to do that was changing my mind. And you're told you can't change your mind, right? If you decide on something, you can't change your mind. No, you totally should. You totally should change your mind, right? And then once you realize that you've made that change, then change your atmosphere. Right. I mean, our group, we keep talking about our group and our circle and stuff. When we're in that climate, when we're surrounded by guys like us at these events and different things are going on, I believe I am capable of anything. You ever seen that interview of Kanye when he's like, I think I could play in the NBA? And the guy's like, oh, you really believe that? He's like, yeah, I think right now, if I put my mind to it and I stop doing music, next year I could be in the NBA. I totally believe that about me. Like, I totally believe that. Like, I believe that if I actually did it and had that type of passion for it, I can do it. And I believe that when I'm in that circle with all of us. And I get it. There's people on the outside who, like, you guys start spot on site and they're like, yeah, okay, that's been done. This shit's all been done before. Same thing with podcasting. Oh, it's all been done before. It's like, dude, you guys have no idea what's inside my brain, what's inside my heart, and how determined I am to make this happen.
Oh, we're just getting started, man. We're
Yeah.
just getting started. It is so crazy, like, because we're building another software right now too, and we're like, man, we were talking about it, I'm like, dude, this is gonna be years of carving on this and creating. Like, that doesn't get boring.
It doesn't.
You know, like there's so much to do. There's so much to do.
It's new. It's always new, right? This conversation's new. People get like, they're like, man, here's another podcast starting. And for me, I'm like, I reach out right away and I'm like, dude, I would love to be a guest on your podcast if you need guests right away. Like, I want to see who brings everything different to the table. Right. So some of these podcasts that started out that people are like, oh, these guys, they copied you. They're doing whatever. I'm like, well, that's cool. Now they're in-house here at Blacktop Banter. Right. We all know that we work better together. Right.
Yeah.
That we're gonna elevate them. They're gonna elevate us. And if after a year or two, they're like, thank you so much, dude, it's helped out a lot, we're gonna go do this. I want that, because if they discover some shit, I want to chase that down. I want to go over there and chase that down. Right. So you got to change your mindset. Like, our industry as a whole has to change its mindset when it comes to that. Like, nobody is going to take food off of your table anymore. And to be honest with you, this is me it's hard, right? Because I'm very humble. You guys know that. But I also believe I could play in the NBA, right? Like, I have a huge ego. And for me, when anyone starts a podcast and does something and they're like, yeah, like, we kind of want to make it what you are, I'm like, try it. Like, tell me you're going to give in 3 years every day of your life over and over, and this become your life, and you have no other priorities but this. Please do. Because then I'll pat you on the back, bro. I'll be like, yeah, you deserve it. Right? Because if you can outwork me in this space, in this field, you deserve it, bro. I'll give it to you. I'll hand it to you.
I love that.
The work and the consistency is what has propelled you to where you're at. And you don't see the consistency that has came, or the results of that has came to fruition until, like, years down the road. Like you said, 3 years. Took you 3 years to get to this point. And, people thought you were crazy, but you just kept at it. Like you said, carving at it every single day. And now look at what's open for you. Yeah. I heard driving into the office today, I'm listening to this audiobook called The Science of Getting Rich. And the first thing it was talking about was literally your mindset and the power of visualization. And it was saying that it said, imagine being on an island, you walk up, there's a treasure chest right in the middle of the island. You open it, and it's filled with sand. Some guy comes along and says, hey, I'll give you all this gold, but you have to put it in the treasure chest. So what do you have to do? You have to get rid of the sand in order to fill it with the gold. And what that is your past conditioning, your beliefs, your upbringing, the way you've been doing things. You need to dump that and unlearn it and make room and opportunity for new stuff to come in, new gold to come in.
Yep. Listen, man, you guys both go to the gym, right? I mean, I know you both are trying to have physiques like mine, but here's the thing.
I cannot stay consistent in the gym to save my life lately. I don't know what is wrong with me.
Like, that's the thing, right? So, like, with me, obviously, like, I'm wearing black a little bit, but I've lost some weight since you guys last see me, right?
Good, man.
Thanks, bro. The conditioning of that is the fact that in order for me to have something to put in there, I had to eliminate what had already filled up that time and that space and that void, right? That's the only way you can do it, right? It's the only way. It's the same thing with when, like I was saying, when people start a podcast, I'm like, yeah, we're going to, aren't you worried? I'm like, dude, if they want to put in 18 hours a day, let them. Like, they can have it. They can do 16 hours a day. They can make the connections, take their time, do that. When you're talking about, Zach, right, with people looking at me sideways early on, one of our mutual friends, I remember, and hopefully he listens to this podcast, because I don't think he'll remember it because he said it off the cuff, but it imprinted in me like deep. The fact that even though somebody was my friend, even though we had a lot of the same characteristics, they can't see my vision, right? That's my vision. And so one of our friends that we both know, where we both hung out with them and whatever, they were having a conversation with Matt, right, at Raised on Blacktop. And I had a backpack on. I had a selfie stick with my phone on there. That's what I was using to record. And I was at MPE 2019, maybe. And I had press pass and everything. And I was on the floor, and it was before the floor started. And I remember our friend telling these guys, like, yeah, Marvin just worked for a press pass, right? And it's like, he just worked for a free press pass. They let him in. And I was like, F you, bro. Like, F you. Because what I was doing was creating content and storing content that I can use over the summer months that nobody else was going to put out. But we were going to put it out. And when we were going to put out, it was going to keep traction with Blacktop Banter. Boom, 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 over this amount of time. That was like a huge spark, dude. Like, it was a huge spark moment for me. Blacktop Banter, because I was going to make that content for Wisco. Blacktop Banter started right when I came back from that expo. And it was because of that comment of, all right,
Yeah,
I'll show you why I'm doing it. Right. And now, right, here we are. I've never said that to anybody. So you guys got an exclusive for that shit. But I visit that person still fairly often, still good friends or do whatever, but I used it as fuel and as a motivator. He didn't mean anything bad by it, right? I could have got offended. Old me would have been like, dude, flung up the fingers and been like, eat shit. But I didn't. I was in a transition period to become this person. I was like, there's a reason why the universe has certain people in my atmosphere, and there's a reason why they say what they say at the times they do. If I believe that the universe is always working for my benefit, then everything that happens in it and to me is for my benefit. I just have to find out what it is. And that's when my lens started to change. And dude, I'll credit him. I'll give him credit for starting Blacktop Banter, right? For saying that shit. And that's all in what you use. It's all in how you do it and what it turns to fuel and what you use and the way you look at stuff and the way you change your mind, the way you change your atmosphere. When you change, this is what I've been saying lately. One of our friends he really liked that I would say being nice is profitable. Because that was like, he's like, dude, you got to get that on the back of a shirt. Like, you got to get something on Blacktop Banner that says being nice is profitable. But lately, what I've been saying is change your mind, change your atmosphere, and change your ceiling. Like, if you do the first one, you can do the second one, and that lets you do the third one. That's it.
Next on top of each other.
That's awesome, man. Gosh.
Wow.
That's crazy.
Marvin's been taking us to church today, baby.
Yeah, man.
Preaching.
I love it.
I love it, dude.
Preaching on what is it, Thursday?
Yeah, it is
Preaching
Thursday.
on a Thursday.
Every day's the same when you're in asphalt. You guys know that.
Like,
it blends together.
What week is this? This is like, it's been a hell of a year.
Yeah.
Dude, it's been crazy, right? And that's what gets me so hyped is I know that we're all going to see each other soon. Yeah. Right. Yep. And that, like, we do this, we're just starting, right? It's December 1st, right? We're just starting. We're getting into the winter months when we do this type of stuff. We reevaluate our business. We do our management stuff. We make any changes to our software, right? We get our teams ready, fire who was dragging us down, hire who we hope is going to take us to the next level. We get all this ready. We go to our events. We see each other. I get super high. Like, I need that. I need to see you guys. Right. And I need to be at the expos, the events. We're going to go to ConAg this year, right in March, or ConExpo, which I'm super hyped for. I need that because that's my fuel. That gets me pumped in order to execute over the summer months when I don't see anybody. And then I get to do, a little podcast here and there, help it along. But for me, I feel bad for people that don't partake in the community that we've all created and been part of. Because it's those guys that you see at the expos and shows who are standing in line to get the free drinks and the hors d'oeuvres, right? And like, that's the whole reason they're there. Like, that's what they immediately go to right away. And it's not because they're thirsty or hungry, right? They're just like, I have to get something out of this. And it's just such a shame because the best moments and the best part of all those events happen outside of the walls most of the time.
Yeah. Yep.
You're right, man.
There's a lot of cool shit at these.
Dude, I've met
but-
so many people over the years. Like I was probably 17 years old at the first NPE that I went to. My dad actually sent me to Atlanta with one person who worked for me. I was actually 16 years old in Atlanta, dude, going to NPE. That crazy, like
Yeah, you were 16 in Atlanta, more than likely, right? Dang, dude, that's crazy.
it was wild, man. Like, but you meet people there. Like I met, gosh, man, who did I meet there that year? Like Guy Grunberg, like a bunch of people that you've just known, heard, speak over the years for a long time now.
Yeah, and I mean I take everything those guys say to heart. I know I've heard it a lot now, and you hear it on repeat now after a while, which is fine. I get that part of it, but the blending of the two right now is fantastic for me. For us to have, you guys have Tom Esso, bringing you in to put spot on site at the iPad demonstration at NPE. And then for me to be speaking next week at a conference with Chris Tammany at Petra Paving, it's a blend right now of both, right? So it's us, these guys that were really young, like yourself, Zach, at the expo, around all these old dogs who, that was their domain, right? And it wasn't until we had the internet in our hands where we made it our domain. And now when I say our domain, I mean, it's still theirs. It's still ours. At some point, it's going to transition. And I don't know what it is or when it is, but our generation will be, Guy Gruenberg, Petra, like all these guys, right? Chris Tammany.
All those guys, yeah.
Right. So I'm hoping that we keep that going, because the mindset before was dangerous, where we don't let anyone in, we don't do anything, right? We don't tell anybody anything, we don't show them anything. It's like, dang, man, I'm glad that we're cracking that shell off of our industry, because we have a responsibility to your kids, right? When they're coming up through it, my kids, if they're going to be coming up through it, we have a responsibility to show them that the key in order to have success and to enjoy their life in this industry is to be open with everybody, accept everybody. You can learn from everybody, you can take from everybody, and you have to be able to adapt, right? And now that's technology, that's podcasts, that's apps, that's branding, that's consulting with people who know what they're doing in that area. If you don't know what you're doing, I'm gonna be honest with you. If I see a huge parking lot that has a lot of radiuses and shit like that, I'm subbing that out. I'm not doing that. We're not doing that, dude. There's no way, right? So it only makes sense. But here's the thing, you have to get that striped. In order to have a complete finished product that you get paid for, you have to have that lot striped. Same thing when it comes to branding and your social media marketing campaigns and all those things. If you can't do it, find somebody who can, pay them to do it, so that at the end you have a finished product that you get paid for. Same thing when it comes to presenting to clients with what you guys do. We both know that if somebody went out with a board and roller and striped that parking lot, or I subcontracted somebody to do it really well, and we presented 2 jobs to the next client, they're going to be like, no, we're going to take the nice finished one that was really done. And that's what you guys do with Spot on Site and present it. We have to adapt technology. I love apps and asphalt title. It's totally cool.
Appreciate it, brother. This has been incredible. I mean, you were our first guest, so kudos to you, whatever that means. We've been
I'm taking it. No one can take it away from me.
We've been wanting to connect for a long time. The value you dropped on just today's episode was phenomenal. A ton of people are going to hear it. So like we said in the beginning, if you guys have not followed Marvin, you guys need to as soon as possible. It's Blacktop Banter. I found him on Instagram, Facebook. You're all over the place. Where else you at?
Dude, the TikTok is ridiculous, bro. Dude, it's ridiculous. I look at it still and I'm like, why is this happening? Right. Right. And then I'll post a video. Like I'll go to post a video and it has all the right pieces of the recipe to go viral. And I'm like, I'm going to hit this button and something stupid is going to happen. And I'm like, all right, we're going to send it. And I'll send it. And the next morning I wake up and the notifications are bonkers. And I'm like,
Booming.
why, dude? Like, why do I know this? Right. It must be like how Kobe felt when he put up 80, right? And he 81. He just was like, this is just ridiculous how good I am. Right. Like I get that feeling through TikTok. Like when we do this, I'm like, then that's why I'm like, please somebody chase me down and be better at this than I am. Like, I would love that, because I would love that. But yeah, I mean, we're there on TikTok. You can find our podcast, Blacktop Banter, on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, on Instagram quite a bit. If you're going to connect with us and DM us, Instagram's most likely, like, it's been blowing up even crazier than what I thought too. So we're having a great time out here, man.
It's awesome.
And also, if you are in the asphalt paving industry, Martin's Blacktop Banter brand now is turning to a media company where you specialize in helping asphalt paving companies with their branding, their content, all that jazz. So you guys need to definitely look into that and reach out to Marvin. We can't stress enough how important that is. Marvin obviously can't. That's where most of his successes came from in that realm. So if you guys are already on it, get on it, reach out to Marvin, because he can take you guys to the moon, man.
Thanks, man. Yeah, we've been working with contractors quite a bit lately. And then we work with large brands within the industry too, right? Like, they're trying to connect with guys like us, right? So they were from that older generation too. And they're like, how do you have so many views? Right? How do you have this many followers? Or are there even this many people within our industry? How do we do that? Right. So we're working with them too and helping them connect on that type of level too. And it feels good, man, to be honest with you. I mean, yes, we make money around it because this is what we want to do. We spend time, effort, and energy, and we hire the right people to do it. But really what it comes down to, it's become cliche for people to say, we just want to help people. Right. And I don't like saying that. I like to say, we recognize the problems that our customers have and we help them solve them. Like, that's awesome. It.
Beautiful, man.
Well, that's a great way to end it.
Yeah.
I know, we're excited to see you here within the next couple of months and have a beer or 2 or 3 with you. And yeah, dude, thank you as always for coming on, your support. And we'll definitely bring you on for another episode again later on, and we'll unpack some more of what you've been through, what you're going through. So,
dude, I'm excited. Thank you so much, guys, for having me. I really appreciate it.
Love it, man. Love it, man. Catch up soon, all right?
Apps and Asphalt, episode 6 with Marvin Joles, Blacktop Banter himself. We'll see you guys next week.